Treksploration.
Hello, Trekkies, and welcome back to Treksploration. I'm Albie.
And I'm Chris. Woo, blown away. My hair is blowing in Albie's exuberance. It's just like...
Excited to talk about Next Gen Lonely Among Us, Season 1, Episode 7, right?
Oh, this is my favorite Albie. This is like the Albie that's not talking about disco, who really wants to talk about what we watched.
You just suffered through 2 hours of melancholy Albie trying to find the joy in disco that he couldn't find.
Oh my goodness. I think maybe we got to limit those disco shows to an hour because it drains you, my friend. I see it hurts. It hurts you physically.
It hurts because I want to love it, but it doesn't want to love me. So I get sad.
Well, listen, I'm just glad that you're able to shake it off. What was this? Yes, that's Taylor Swift.
Yeah. Taylor Swift, absolutely.
Yeah.
She's pretty. I went and saw her in IMAX. I couldn't get real tickets, so I saw her in IMAX. But it was close. It was pretty good.
You know, the only reason I know the only reason I know it's a Taylor Swift song was I was watching an episode of Supernatural. And at the very end, the last scene, Dean peels out in the Impala with that "Shake It Off" song playing,
yeah.
and Laura just happened to be sitting in the background. She said, "Why are they playing Taylor Swift on Supernatural?" And I said, "Oh, that's Taylor Swift."
Oh, they play a Taylor Swift song in Fall Guy. Saw that in IMAX too. Oh, that was great. It was great.
Oh, who was in that?
Ryan Reynolds. No, Ryan Gosling.
Yeah,
and
Ken, right?
Emily Blunt.
Okay.
And Ryan Gosling, this is the very beginning of the movie. He was probably first 5 minutes, so it's not really a spoiler. But he was very sad about the breakup between him and Emily Blunt's character. So he's playing a Taylor Swift song really loud in the truck, crying like, and she comes up, and he turns off the music, and they talk and stuff. And then while she's leaving, he turns on the music again, and it's funny. It reminded me of the moment in Just Friends. That was Ryan Reynolds, though, and Amy Smart. That was a great movie. Anyway.
All right. Now you say Fall Guy, and I think of Scott's cameo on Always Sunny.
Oh, okay. I was thinking you were thinking of the series Fall Guy.
No. Scott Bakula did a cameo on Always Sunny, and he sings about missing having lunch with the Fall Guy.
I haven't seen that one. I got to watch that one. Send me the information so I can just watch that one episode. I
want
to watch
the
Fall, but I got no
Hulus.
time. I'm watching Star Trek all the time.
Yeah,
what
it's
does that
on
mean?
the Hulus.
What is that? What does that mean? I can watch the brand new series I want to watch, or the series I watched 22 times already again.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
The guy's kicking open the door with Next Gen behind it or something. I don't know how it works. Lonely Among Us, Star Trek: The Next Generation, Season 1, Episode 7. Original air date November 2nd, 1987. Writers: the teleplay is by DC Fontana, and the story is by Michael Halprin. Directed by Cliff Bowl. We'll hear Cliff Bowl a lot.
Will we?
Yeah, he seems to come up a lot.
I haven't been paying attention to the directors, so to speak. Now that I'm doing the rundowns, I'm seeing some of the same names, and it's going to be interesting. You know, now that we're talking about Next Gen in a very substantive way, I feel like I'm going to start to relate to it much the way I've always related to Quantum Leap, whereas I'll have the writers who I know, ooh, that's a so-and-so episode, or a director, oh, that's a great and I have a feeling that Next Gen is going to be like that. I look forward to getting to know the writing staff, even though I know there's a lot of shakeups after season. Like season 1's not the time to do it, right?
Season 3 on, you'll get to love certain writers. I did, yeah.
Okay.
And then follow their careers forever.
One of them being Ron Moore, I'm sure.
Yeah, and you'll follow these people forever. You'll go to Battlestar Galactica, then you'll go to what is that time travel I watched that for so long. Ronald D.
Sliders.
Moore.
Tracy Torme.
That was good except for last season. Ronald D. Moore. It's the one where they're in like Ireland or Scotland. They time travel back and there's a hot chick and
oh, that's Yep, that one.
Anyway, I watched that with the next spouse. I'm not going to say which one, but I think I watched like the first 4 seasons. So then I took a break and I haven't finished the series yet, but I look forward to finishing the series because I really loved it. It was, let's try to think of that. One of us will shout it out during the.
I want to say Highlander, but it's not Highlander.
It's not Highlander. There could be only one. There could be only many in this one. Time travel. She walked through a rock.
Yeah.
And she was
You know,
pretty.
now the funny thing is,
Hmm.
one of the people that I work with, uh, he is not a sci-fi guy.
Hmm.
However, his mother, his
Outlander.
mother, Outlander, not Highlander, Outlander. His mother went to this thing. She loved the show, and I guess she loved the guy. So she went to like this thing where she had a video conference to meet him. It was almost like a con meet and greet or like a photo session,
Oh,
but it was during the pandemic, so it was all like remote. So it was
hmm.
like going and basically seeing this guy on Zoom. But
Oh,
she
nice.
was thrilled to pieces because she was, a giant fan of the show.
Yeah,
So, and
that's
I'm just
awesome.
like, yeah, that's kind of what we do when we're fans. So,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know what the guy's name is. It's the Outlander guy. I guess
Jamie
it's
Bamber.
Outlander.
Is that right? Now I got to know.
I
Now I got to
got me.
know.
I don't know who Taylor Swift is. You think I'm gonna know who the
Oh,
Outlander
Taylor
guy
Swift
is?
is amazing. She does get me every few months for $50 um records because Rennie likes to collect all her records. She goes, "Oh, there's a new one coming out," and I'm like, "Oh, great."
On
I enjoy it,
vinyl?
but it's not worth $50. God.
Is she like you? Does she get it on every medium imaginable? Does she
No,
get
I
it
buy it on
on?
CD for the car, and then Rennie buys it on vinyl for the house.
Okay.
Sam Hugan plays Jamie Fraser. That's where I got Jamie Bamber and Jamie Fraser mixed up. Okay. And Claire Randall is played by Katarona Balfe. No clue. Yeah, that's worth the watch. I don't know if you ever watched it.
Nope.
Time travel.
Nope. Because it's a romance. It's not time travel. It's romance.
Yeah, it's like lady fiction. So I really like it.
Okay. Yeah. You do like lady fiction. You like
I
rom
do.
coms. You
Yep.
like
I'm all
lady
about the
fic.
emotion and the love.
I'm
And I
telling you.
sit on the space station all alone.
So
I'm a
much drama.
complicated person.
So, so much drama. So many corned beef
So
sandwiches.
many things. So we talked a little bit on Disco about your Chicago adventure. Tell me more. Tell me more. The
Oh,
Bean was
well, I
closed.
mean,
Is that
the
true?
Bean was closed. Yeah, no, the Bean was cordoned off. So, I
Why
forget
would they
what
do
the
that?
actual.
That's why you
I think
go,
it's called
right?
the Millennium Sculpture. No, it's
I think
Millennium
so.
Park. It's in
Okay.
Millennium Park, and I think it's like Cloud something. Anyway, everybody calls it the
Cloud
Bean.
City.
It's Bespin. It's
Hmm.
Bespin.
Exactly.
So, but it's like I felt like I went to Wally World and it was closed because we were. Here's the
Wonderful.
great thing. First of all, Chicago is fantastic.
Beverly
And
D'Angelo in the shower. Just saying.
I loved the city. It was a fantastic city. And one thing that struck me about it was how close everything was in the downtown center. So like I was in a hotel that was right on the river, and I walk the back, like the side courtyard of the hotel, and I find myself on State Street. I cross the river, and like right in front of me is that famous Chicago theater sign that you see in
Oh yeah.
everything that you see with Chicago. And it was just like right there. If I
That's
was
awesome.
in Manhattan, like you went to Manhattan, you
Yeah.
have to walk 9 miles to find anything that's like a landmark.
Way too
Chicago,
fast.
everywhere you look,
Wait up,
it's just
Chris.
like right there.
Wait up.
Hmm?
Wait up, Chris. Wait up. That was like when we saw Radio City Music Hall sign. I was like so excited.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a ton of stuff to see in Chicago. I absolutely adored it. I was telling everybody on the bonus feed behind the paywall how I went to the Museum of Science and Industry and they had a James Bond exhibit. But you can see that on that
Yeah, we have a
episode if
very
you
very
go
long
there.
Bond tangent.
Yeah, we have long Bond tangent. However, one thing that did remind me specifically of you
Mm-hmm.
when I was at that Science and Industry Museum, they had like a 3D experience.
Ah,
So
did you put it on?
I put it on, and you sit in these chairs that move, and it was basically like a simulated roller coaster that went all around the solar system. Very cartoony, but it was really neat. And the music was so evocative of Star Trek. Like
Oh wow.
I just kept on getting hints of Wrath of Khan and Search for Spock scores in
Now I
it.
want to go to
So
Chicago.
yeah, and but I know that you like one of your hobbies now is to like virtual travel
Yes,
using.
absolutely.
What do you have, like an Oculus Rift?
I have
Like
an
what do you
Oculus
use?
3, MetaQuest Oculus 3. I am totally sold. This is what happened. I was like, I was looking at the new Apple one, that's like, what is it? Like $3,000, $3,800, something stupid. And I was like, don't do it, Albie. Don't do it. You gotta pay for your kid's college education one day, right? So I was like, okay, I won't do that. So I'm watching all the reviews, and they're like, the MetaQuest versus the Apple one, MetaQuest, and it's like MetaQuest is like $500, right? Figured it's worth a try, right? So I get it. I put it on. I do all the things. I'm like, I think I'm traveling like in Paris, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, my brain thinks I'm really there, and when I take it off, I feel like this weird like shock of like what's real, what's not real. That's how realistic this thing is. And I was instantly sold, and I was like, I went right to the store that same night, maybe the next night, not sure, but before Rennie got back, and bought Rennie one. So then me and her, we go to all these like their 8K, 12K videos of different traveling in different cities around the world. We went to Tokyo, Paris. We went to the place with the Liberty Bell.
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. We went to Philadelphia, and it was like a half-hour 12K virtual reality tour, and we're walking around and just looking around and learning about Philadelphia. I'm like, this is definitely a good learning tool. So like we're traveling the world virtually, and it's so real.
But I went to the Museum of Ice Cream. You need to know that.
Ice cream? There's a museum of ice cream? How many flavors? 31 more? 47? How many flavors? What was your favorite flavor? I'm so intrigued. Did they have non-dairy? Did they have sugar-free?
No. The best part is when they give you a Dove bar. You will not believe how much money it costs to get into the Museum of Ice Cream. It was really
$19.
Really, no.
More?
Oh my God, dude! I'm not even gonna tell you. Yeah, I could have bought half of one of your Oculus Rifts to get five people into that. To get 5 people into that dump, it cost
was it like that good?
$265.
See, I'm smart. I'm going to go on the virtual tour of the ice cream museum later.
So when you get in there, they say, "Listen, you spend a lot of money to get in here. Take your time." And they give away ice cream throughout. But they give you a Dove bar to begin with in Chicago anyway. Apparently, there's one in New York too. I'll never go, but
because it's in New York.
Yeah.
when you live there, you don't want to be a tourist, right?
Plus, I know exactly what's in there and how much it costs and how it's not worth it. But
is that why you were so far ahead of us? Because you didn't want to be seen with tourists?
No, I'm a tourist every time I go to Manhattan.
Okay.
Are you kidding? Yeah. I'm
so
still.
what was your favorite flavor you saw at the Museum of Ice Cream?
My favorite flavor of all time, vanilla. I love vanilla.
Vanilla. Made with real vanilla, right? Not the vanilla in it.
Yeah. They make you, okay. All right. I'm going to see how well do you know Chris?
Okay.
They make you fill out like a little name tag, and you're supposed to name yourself an ice cream flavor. What was my ice cream flavor at the Museum of Ice Cream?
Count Chocula.
It came to me in a flash too.
Scott Chocula.
No, that would be good. It was. Are you ready? Are you ready? Drum roll.
Wham, wham.
Breen roll. It was Spocky Road.
Oh, I love it. Spocky Road. Very logical flavor. Very, very logical. Did they have
just in case you didn't get that, it's like Rocky Road. But Spocky Road. Yeah, it's kind of like Exploration, but with Trek in front of it.
In case you just didn't get that. Did they have the freeze dried ice cream for the astronauts? Did they sell that?
No. You can get that at the Smithsonian.
I love that stuff. Yeah.
I'm sure you can get it in Florida. Like you go to Cape Canaveral.
Oh yeah, they got it there.
Cape Kennedy. Yeah.
I had the littlest bit because diabetic again, but it's full of sugar. They don't have sugar free.
I know you want me to read the episode synopsis.
Could you read us the episode synopsis for TNG Season 1, Episode 7, Lonely Among Us?
But don't you want to talk about your latest adventure, or you want to wait till later?
We'll get to it. I'm sure we'll tangent.
All right. No problem. So Albie had an adventure too. Stay tuned.
I had an excellent adventure, let's say.
Episode synopsis, Lonely Among Us. The Enterprise has picked up delegates from the warring planetary neighbors, the Antikins and the Sile. Their mission? Take them on a diplomatic journey to Parliament, to broker a peace and consider entry into the Federation. But en route, they stop to investigate a massive energy cloud. Faster than you can say force lightning, cascading blue energy zaps Worf through a sensor console, and an alien life form invades the ship, body surfing amongst the crew until it settles on Captain Picard, threatening the safety of the Enterprise and Picard's life. Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Next
Lonely
time on Star
Among
Trek:
Us.
The Next Generation, Lonely Among Us. Yeah, I wrote Babel. That was my first note. Babel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dorothy wrote Journey to Babel. So,
Mhm.
and I think I
Oh,
said
there
a
we go.
Babel when I was reading. So you tell
Babel,
me.
yeah. Which
When
way did you say it? I don't know. I'm uneducated.
I always said
in
Babel.
communication.
I always said Babel. But then when I heard people talking about Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, what did you call the fish they put in their ear? It was like their universal translator.
Babelfish, right? That's how I read
Babelfish,
it.
right? That's what I
Yeah.
always called it. But
Yeah.
then I'm like talking to the fans, they're calling it a Babelfish. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Why would it be Babel?
Is that just the British accent? Maybe I don't know.
I don't know.
Babel.
I
don't
mean,
know. I'm not religious in the Tower of Babel or Tower of Babel.
that's what I always said Tower of Babel, because when you talk about they're speaking in Babel.
Yeah,
And
Babel,
Tower of
right?
Babel is what made people not understand each other biblically.
Yeah, that was trying to fix something.
Yeah. So
that needed
I
fixing.
mean,
Anyway, that's another show.
Yeah. So Picard's life is threatened by his very own Tuvok.
Christopher
In this,
D. Philippus, first impressions.
I gotta tell you, this was simultaneously the most interesting episode of Next Gen that I've seen this season one, and maybe the most rote and boring episode of Next Gen I've seen this season one. It had so much going on, and there was so much good in it, and there was just so much. All right, we figured this out before the credits, and it's still Act 3, and they're still figuring it out. All right. So
season one is definitely throw everything against the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah. So this, quite frankly, my first impression of this, when I say interesting and boring parts, I stand by that. This was literally just basically 2 episodes pasted together that had zero to do with one another, which
seems
was
to be a trend.
Yeah. So
I guess
how about you?
What Star Trek?
I mean, you've seen this episode 47 times at least. So what's your 47th impression of Lonely Among Us?
It's again one of those ones that has that boring weird thing about it, and I finally realized watching this episode what that thing is. It's that feeling of being in an abandoned train station at midnight, like the electric's on, everything's working, nobody's there, and no trains are coming, and you can't leave. That's how season one feels to me. That's
a very, very specific nightmare right there.
But that's how it feels. It's weird. And then every once in a while there's something that's not that. Like I enjoyed a lot of parts of it. It's definitely not one of my favorites. And it like they took parts of this episode and just made other episodes again out of them. So comparing it to the rest of the series, not as good, but I enjoy it. I'll watch it.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of it doesn't make sense to me, but I'm sure we'll talk about that. But my first impression is it's okay.
It's all right.
It's all right. It's all right. It's got the actors I like. Yeah.
Yep.
And some kind of cool things happen.
Right. I'm sure as we go on with this discussion, I will learn. But before we boldly go into that learning experience, we want you out there to reach out to us. Find us on patreon.com/Treksploration. That's where we have our main community of Treksplorers, and you can join the conversation over there. You can also find bonus content there. It's where we talk about Disco and eventually
and soon other things, right?
Yeah, other shows in the franchise. Once Disco is over.
Do first? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I'm excited. What are we going to do?
Yeah, I know. You can't wait for Disco to be done.
We got Voyager, we got Deep Space Nine, we got the original series, we got animated series.
Why don't we?
Don't say start at Disco over. No.
Right. Why don't we start at the Vulcan Hello?
No. Give me a couple years to mature to understand what they're doing.
I tell you what, we haven't. You know what? We haven't decided it. So when Disco is over, why don't we decide live on camera for the benefit of everybody? It gives everybody something to look forward to, because you think logically we'd start with
original series?
I guess the Cage, right?
But
we don't have to. We ain't got it.
So maybe it'll be a surprise to me. Maybe I'll just watch all the first episodes, and then I'm prepared for whatever you say.
And maybe we'll just do it like a wheel. We'll do a wheel of episodes, you know?
But we're gonna figure it out, and it's gonna be fun to talk about those episodes too. So I can't.
Yeah,
wait.
that's funny because now do you see now maybe maybe this is a conversation for that when we get to that bridge. I have wow, now I'm very curious to know myself what this
Bridge
is
like the bridge in Central Park, or bridge like the bridge of the Enterprise.
I'm gonna say like the Ribbon Bridge in Central Park, because it was thanks to you that I finally saw it for the first time. Going to Central Park for 20 years more.
It was thanks to
And
you that we
was
saw
thanks
it
to
for the first time.
yeah, well, there you go. So, I mean, you
know what
wanted
the
to go see. You know how that worked out, don't you? Because
How
I
did
used
that
to
work
only go as far as Bethesda Fountain, which is
Right.
where you got your Harry Met Sally thing, right? And then I would turn around and go back to the hotel. Just in case people don't know this, I used to go to Manhattan for New Year's Eve, and the ball would drop. Then we'd go to a hotel, and we'd sleep. And I'd wake up at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and they're still sweeping the streets outside of the hotel. And I would walk up to Central Park, and I would walk as far in as Bethesda Fountain. And I discovered it that way because I just kept walking. And then I came to this beautiful, and I was like, what is this? This is fountain with this angel on top. And I'm going through this elaborate entryway to get there. And I would always just be in awe of that. And I would stop and I'd look at it, and then I'd turn around and go back to the hotel and wake Laura up and get some breakfast and go home. Because you and Rennie wanted to see the Only Murders in the Building, which is further up on the west side. We went to Bethesda Fountain because there was a Harry Met Sally moment there. And then I said, okay, well, let's just keep going off to the left here because that's the west side. We got to hit 80, whatever. I think it was 86th Street. It was all the way up.
86th and 42nd.
And we crest this hill. And these rocks, you know, there are always big rocks in Central Park. And all of a sudden, there is the Ribbon Bridge, which is that famous bridge that you see in every movie. I never knew where it was in the park. I had no idea we were going to stumble upon it. I was just like, well, that's serendipity right there. Now I know where this bridge is. And
I think it's in the movie Serendipity too. Yeah.
And every time now I think I get smart. Missed it by that much every time I went before.
99. 1886. Always missed it by that much. What the best part of that was, it was very cool because me and Serenity recognized it immediately. Because of course, it's in like every movie that takes place in New York. They have to go to that bridge. But the cool part is that we toured New York and did all these things right before the theater started playing a Spider-Man movie a week. So they started with the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, then they moved on to the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, and now we're next week is the Tom Holland Spider-Man. So we always sit front row center. It's a huge screen, and we've been going every week now. It's like 6 or 7 weeks in a row. It's crazy. But every time like they come on screen, like she always like punches me in the arm and goes, "Oh, we were right there. We were there." It was like perfect. Right before
That's
the
great.
Spider-Man stuff. And that happened last time with the bridge, I think. And I was like, yes, that bridge.
That's funny. What's the serendipity going on here too? Because on the plane to and from Chicago, I watched Spider-Man No Way Home, which has all three Spider-Men. Yeah. And just last night, I was watching the Andrew Garfield ones because they're on, I think they're on Max. I'm not sure, or on Netflix.
First time watching them?
First time watching
Andrew Garfield.
First time watching them since I saw them in the theater. I don't remember if I think I saw part 2 in the theater, but I have zero memory of it. I had barely any memory of the lizard one, which was the first one. But I do remember having seen that. So, but I kind of like it better now than I did then.
I did not watch the Andrew Garfield ones originally because I was big into Tobey Maguire, and I'm like, why did they fire Spider-Man and get this new Spider-Man? What, are they trying to save money? So I was a little upset about that. And then I heard they were telling the origin story again, and I was like, they just did the origin story with Tobey Maguire a few years ago. Why are you giving me the same movie over again? I was wrong. They were both really good. So I watched them for the first time on the big screen or ever a couple weeks ago. Yeah, really good. Really good. Yeah. Why did she have to die? I was waiting for her not to die.
Oh, because movie.
Because movie. But I was like, they probably would have got a third one if she didn't die. I was waiting for everybody. Her to come back.
That's the thing is like kind of everybody dies in the Andrew Garfield ones. I mean, because Dennis Leary dies. Spoiler.
Yeah.
And then I do remember that Gwen dies, and I know that they made a moment out of that in No Way Home.
Right.
When he saves MJ.
I was spoiled by No Way Home. But the weird part is I'd never watched the Andrew Garfield movies, but when Andrew Garfield came across like the space and time rift in No Way Home, I got him all emotional, and I don't know why, because I had never seen his movies.
Right.
Maybe because I just liked him from like Tick Tick Boom or something. I have no idea.
Yeah. I mean, and it's funny. I feel like he plays Peter so different. I love Toby as Peter, and those are my favorite Spider-Man movies. Now, I really love No Way Home, but I have an appreciation for the way Andrew Garfield plays Peter Parker in this. It's almost like he's on the spectrum. He doesn't like do complete sentences, but he's very astute and very attuned in some things, but very inept in other things. And it was a unique take on the character. And I feel like that there was much more of that in the first one. He seems to be much more quippy, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man in the second one. You know,
I really love The Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield. I think that's one of my favorites now. And it was crazy. I was sitting there in the theater going, I thought I saw this. I guess I never really did. And I've never seen this before. This is amazing. And I just really got into it. And Emma Stone, come on, right?
Yeah, Emma Stone looks great. And on the way home, because I finished, because the flight to Chicago is short. So I had to cut the No Way Home in half, and I watched the last part on the way home. And then I put on Avengers Endgame because I don't have Disney Plus. So I can't watch Marvel movies anytime I want. So it was like a real treat to have No Way Home, which is my favorite of the Marvel Spider-Man movies, and to have Endgame, even though I like not Endgame, Infinity War. It was Infinity War.
Infinity War.
Part one. And I like Infinity War Part 2.
I don't get that. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, Part 2.
So this is me saying I'm jealous.
Disney Plus.
I didn't know that we had one. So I was going to ask you about
everything. We got the company everything. Because we got to review things.
Shh. Anyway, so patreon.com/Treksplorers. Go there, be part of our crew of Treksplorers. Get us on Instagram at TreksplorationPod. Find us on X at Treksploration. Email us, Treksplораtionpod@gmail.com. Give us a phone call. Tell us what you think of the Spider-Man, 707-847-6682. Or send me your favorite Spider-Man mask at P.O. Box 542, Bayport, New York, 11705. And as always, we're thanking our crew of Treksplorers who are over at Treksploration Patreon site. That includes our cadet, Scott Seligman, our lieutenant commanders, Cosplay Dad, One of All, and Fantasy Fan, and our captain, Captain Charles from Texas, Captain on the Bridge. Captain.
Oh, I have something to mention about that. So we have our first captain's roundtable coming up, and so far we only have one captain, it's going to be a segment where we talk to all our captains and above about the totality of the season we just finished reviewing. So in this case, it'll be Discovery. So we get to talk to Captain Charles from Texas soon in the Captain's Roundtable segment of the finale of Disco. If you want in on that, there is still time. Go to patreon.com, become a captain, and you too can sit in on the Captain's Roundtable and tell us all your thoughts on Disco.
Yeah, Charles is usually, pretty astute in his observations. I can't wait to hear what he has to say about Disco.
I'm excited to meet him at Starfleet headquarters.
He's been following us on various things that we've done for quite a while, too. Yeah. So I'm happy to see him here at Treksploration. But
seems like a cool fella.
Yeah, commented on QLP, commented on, I think he commented on Castle Rock, too, when Skip and I was doing Castle Rock. So
maybe 11/22/63. Captain Charles, let us know your history with Barren Space and associated members of the crew.
Yeah, please do. And
speaking of, did we get any feedback?
We do have some feedback, and this is referring some of the stuff that we said on the. I mean, it's been so long, but Portaland's Place on YouTube responded, and he or they write as. Now, you got to refresh my memory, Albie, because this is now non sequitur for me. As someone who had Sunny D commercials in my youth, you are officially old for thinking they are still youth related, but in fact, you were remembering 20-year-old commercials. You said something about Sunny D. Yeah.
Because we were talking about soup inherently being old. And I was like, there's kids don't go, I want my Sunny D and some cream of mushroom soup. And the fact that I mentioned Sunny D associated with kids makes me old. And it was funny. Rennie read that comment and laughed her butt off. She thought that was the funniest thing. She's like, you are so old. what is Sunny D? And I was like, kids don't have that anymore. It was funny.
All right. So thank you for pointing that out, Portlands. But they continue, and you absolutely missed out on a Seinfeld reference from having the big salad. Now,
yeah, we
did you have a big salad at some point? Or did
Because I
have a
didn't
big
have
salad?
the salad because it was too big, so I couldn't finish my
Oh,
steak.
that's right,
so I
at the
had the soup.
steakhouse.
Right.
That's right.
I was going to go down
and
the
then
other
the
route. I was going to go with the super salad, where they ask, do I want soup or salad? And I was going to say, yes, super salad. But I didn't go down that route anyway. The whole yes and thing that is my life of non sequiturs, sometimes it just forks in a different direction. But yeah, hopefully with that fork, we'll talk about the big salad one day.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. I
Yeah.
like it.
Love Seinfeld.
So now we're on to what was that last episode with all the
Where no one has gone before.
Yes, everybody was hallucinating. Everyone was hallucinating,
including myself.
And so we talk about Picard, and you thought it was his grandmom, but it's mommy. And Portlands, they school us here. Maman is mother, and grandmaman is grandmother. The old lady is how Picard imagined his mother would have aged, as he explains in Picard. So I guess maybe they did make a nod to this in canon. I didn't realize or didn't remember. Maybe because I hadn't seen this episode before I watched the third season of Picard. Maybe. Anyway, a lot of these weird loose ends from TNG get an attempt at resolution in Picard, for better or worse. And now, this is right, because I realized this when I was listening back. Chris should lose his point for his answer Worf in the movie. You had asked what was Worf doing how did Worf slide his way into First Contact? And I said that he was fighting at the Battle of Wolf 359 in the Defiant. Was not, and Portlands corrected me. Chris says the Defiant rushed into help her at the Battle of 359. This is chronologically incorrect, as Wolf 359 happens during TNG's earlier seasons. Battle of Sector 001 is the name given to the movie Battle with the Borg. Yeah, I remember that now.
It makes sense now. Yeah, I just remembered it the same as you, I think, and I was like, because I always assume that's just that part of, but you're right.
All right, there's a section here, but I'm going to save it for last because we'll get into a whole nother tangent. So I'm going to write, there are two more sections that Portlands writes. A good Star Trek book is John Delancey's IQ. That's all I need to say. And he writes, I am super big for most episodes of Star Trek. Even this comes off as hokey 70s pseudo-spiritual scientific mishmash that they really tried to push in early TNG. I guess he's talking about the Where No One Has Gone Before. Luxwana Troy makes a comment that echoes this mindset in another episode as well. So getting stoned might not make the episode any better, but you'll get a good laugh off the doggy dookie on the Star Trek carpet. That was Worf's Targ.
That's funny.
And I don't know if we discussed this or if you gave a preview, but Albie, tell us about your most excellent adventure that wasn't Chicago.
Oh, I went to see Pauly Shore. Like, you went on a trip to Chicago, but I got to meet the Weasel.
Oh, God.
So very cool.
Yeah, so before you elaborate, this is what Portlands has to say about that. A Pauly Shore show is 100% an exercise in sadomasochism. This also confirms Albie is old for liking awful movies from the early 90s. The only acceptable Pauly Shore movie is the Goofy movie. Funny how this podcast started with a talk of an 18-ounce steak, then almost ends with mention of 2 more steaks. How big? Anyway, so tell us all about Pauly Shore. Didn't you get some swag and some really cool stuff?
Some swag. Okay. I was worried I wouldn't be able to. I left my stuff in the car because I didn't know what the procedure was or whatever.
Well, set the scene.
Went to dinner. It was a really nice dinner. I had what did I have? Smash burger with fries and French onion soup, because you had recommended the French onion soup. So when the server did that, I was like, I remember Chris talking about French onion soup, so I'll get the French onion soup. Unfortunately, they delivered, I took a friend, they delivered the 2 burgers and the 2 French onion soups all at the same time. So I'm like, do I eat the burger? Do I eat the soup? What am I doing? But I got a table right next to the stage. So I was about 5 feet from Pauly the whole time, which was amazing. And the food was good. Fries were, a little bit overdone and too thin. They were like shoestring, but extra cooked. I don't know. Wasn't my thing. I was in the mood for steak fries. dipping him in a lot of ketchup. But anyway, great show. I thought he was really funny, and it's more of a like, it's not like setup joke, story setup joke. It's more of like just him being him, right? And that's why you're there, So whatever he does, if he's just on stage doing whatever, you're just, that's the guy that was for like 2 years there was like the coolest person for my generation. So that was pretty cool. But so afterwards he went outside, and the other two comedians that were there were really funny, but they were working the merch stand for him and selling like all kinds of swag and stuff. And I went and got my laser disc, and he signed my laser disc.
Ooh, wow. Good for you. What is that?
I was pretty excited about that.
Is that Encino Man? For
Encino
those
Man.
listening on the pod feed?
I think Sean Astin, and then the guy Short Round from Indiana Jones that won the Oscar. And then I was trying to get the package. I didn't know if he was just going to sign it. I didn't want to be that guy that brings my own thing and didn't pay any money and has a signature, which he was signing stuff for people for free anyway. But I was like, it's like stopping at a bathroom, at like a convenience store, not buying something when you use a bathroom. You buy something, So I bought stuff. So I was like, I bought this one for Rennie. It was an 8x10 signed by him. Really nice photo quality. That's also Encino Man. And then they didn't have my size shirt, unfortunately. And I got Serenity a shirt.
And is that an Encino Man shirt as well?
Yeah, Encino Man, and it says Pauly Shore. So
it was really cool to meet him. Capitalizing on the Encino Man cred.
Hey, well, like he was talking about, I think one of his stories / jokes was people come up to him all the time and say, "Why haven't you made movies in the last 20 years?" And he's like, he used profanity, but he's like, "Thank you. I didn't think of that." He was like, because my first movie made all this money, and every movie afterwards made half as much, so they won't let me make another movie. That was funny. But he's working on the Richard Simmons biopic. So he did some Richard Simmons like acting and different things. He did a Richard Simmons short not too long ago. It was really good, and he looks like Richard Simmons now, which is crazy.
That's a real thing?
Yeah, and there's a short you can watch on YouTube. It was kind of like a proof of concept, and it's really good. It's like 5 minutes, and but they're trying to make a feature out of it, and he wants to win the Oscar so he could be like Brendan Fraser and Short Round.
Gotcha. All right. Well,
so yeah, it was really cool. Got to meet him. Hung out, got a picture. I'm sure I'll put it up here, but it was good. It was a nice adventure. Like you go to Chicago, I just went down to Naples. I had a beam down.
But I mean, that was a special trip.
It was fun. I like him because he does different things. He's got a podcast on YouTube and different things, and he just seems like a cool guy. And not too long ago, he proposed to Drew Barrymore. So that was my question for him. Because we don't know if Drew said yes or no. She's like, stay tuned.
Oh, are they dating?
No, but they've been friends and love each other for a long time, that kind of thing. And he proposed on her show. And I was going to ask him, did Drew get back to you? And I was just so like, not nervous, but like in a fog because I'm meeting Pauly Shore. So as one would be. And he was so kind and nice to everybody. But I forgot to ask him. So.
All right.
I have to wait and find out because Drew Barrymore is one of my lifelong crushes. Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We're talking about Lonely Among Us. Okay. as one does, let's dive right in.
Okay. We're so good at that.
we're that meme an hour into the show that the host say, let's dive right in. So let's dive right in to Lonely Among Us, Star Trek The Next Generation. Chris, first impressions. No, we already did that.
Did that. Yeah.
Talk to me about Lonely Among Us. What do you think about it? What do you feel about it?
When I said this is the most interesting episode, I love the fact that we get two so wholly alien species. It's screamingly bad makeup, especially the dogs. I call it the snakes and foxes. There's the Amphelin and the Eiphelin. I'm going back to my Wheel of Time lore here.
The Soleil.
Yeah, the Soleil are the lizards
and
or
the
snakes. And the
Antikins.
Antikins are the foxes, so they call it
Okay.
Steaks and Foxes in Wheel of Time. So I
I've
kept
heard
on
that's
thinking of
good.
Steaks and Foxes. Yeah. Oh well. Oh God, there's a whole. Yeah, that's. We could do a podcast
Is
just
that the
about
one
that.
where they got like 22 novels out or something? It's
Oh
ridiculous.
yeah, I mean, you had my books been unpacked when you saw my library when you
Mhm.
visited me, you would have seen all of them. And it's just it's a game of diminishing returns. But again, we can have I can talk the next hour about Wheel of Time. Anyway,
Yeah.
so it made me think of the Snakes and Foxes from Wheel of Time, and I was so happy to see not only like sort of truly alien life forms. They weren't just humanoid, but they were like hominid animals. And the fact that they hated each other. And the fact that, I know that this kind of is a riff on Journey to Babel
Mm-hmm.
with the Andorians and the Vulcans and all that, but they played this one for laughs. And I really enjoyed that. And it was just so wonderfully out of place with the serious, super serious nature of the rest of the episode. So that's why when I say it was 2 episodes just mashed together, completely mashed together, it was almost perfect in that sense, because it seems to me that that's what it would really be like. You don't have like thematically complementary things going on in your life at the same time. There's always a mishmash of shit going on, and you got to navigate it all. And I think that Dorothy captured that here. What did you think about just the alien part of it?
I definitely, from the dog people, which is what the Antikins maybe.
Yep.
I got the Planet of the Apes vibe, where they're talking but their lips don't move, and they have very specific lips, and lips are muscles covered in like skin to move around to make sounds, right, and keep your mouth hole shut.
It's more like a
Different thing.
sphincter.
Yeah, and they were doing the whole Planet of the Apes, over exaggerating the jaw to try to make it seem like they were talking. Didn't work.
It just had those really stiff rubber masks or whatever those masks were. So it was a little bit
I think
difficult,
foam latex rubber. Yeah, it definitely gave me Planet of the Apes vibes. It was definitely 2 different episodes, because one is like that dry train station at midnight, nobody there vibe, and the other one was that trying to be humorous about maybe cannibalism ish stuff too.
Again, I ate frog's legs the other week. Does that make me a cannibal?
I think if they were sentient, yes.
No.
I'm going to go with not humans eating humans, but sentients eating sentients.
All right. So by that respect, Giorgio is a cannibal.
Yeah.
For eating
Well,
Saru.
maybe not a cannibal. Maybe there's another word for that. But I think if you can have a conversation with a political opponent and you eat them, there's something on another level than if you're eating a lower life form because your lineage always did that before or something. And I thought it was crazy that the one Antikin was calling the humans barbaric for replicating their food. How is that barbaric? That's like high technology, right? Am I misunderstanding the word barbaric? And how does the barbaric reference go into their culture, or is that just a universal translator thing?
I think it should have been more like, barbaric, repugnant, in the sense that, like, why wouldn't you? It's like eating dead gawk, I guess.
Right.
Why would you eat it dead? And it's funny you say cannibalism. I happen to have the Star Trek Next Generation companion. Somebody dropped it off on my stoop.
On your stoop. Check your stoop.
Point. On my stoop.
Give a guy an address, he sends you stuff.
The director of this one, was it Cliff Bole?
Cliff Bole.
Yeah. Cliff Bole does talk about that aspect of this, and I'll just write like a little snippet because I just found it pretty funny. Bole recalled that the show got mail criticizing its depiction of what amounted to cannibalism on the part of the carnivorous dog-like Antikins. And like I never, like, the fact that you said cannibalism, it would not have occurred to me to think of that as cannibalism. It occurred to me to think of that as an outrageously ill thought out joke, because you're going to this planet to, number one, get a peace accord between these two warring factions, and number two, maybe get consideration into the Federation. And you have one of the ambassadors eating another one of the ambassadors, and they play it like a joke.
That was
like,
for humor.
Isn't this wouldn't this be a major interplanetary incident at this point?
Yeah,
I mean,
there'd be people in handcuffs. There'd be like everything's called off. They can't enter the treaty. And you would think that, I think the Enterprise failed because they didn't have guards stationed on that hallway.
What does that say about what does that say about the security of passengers on a Federation ship? Like, you can literally have it so that they have the run of the ship to the point where I know they can always take over the ship. That's just a given. It's a Federation ship. You really want to, you don't even try very hard. You can take it over.
Yeah, but you just turn everybody into kids and you take over the Enterprise.
You think you wouldn't get waylaid in the hallway and eaten.
Riker gets another glow necklace on him.
And there was another inconsistency with that, because it was Yar, like during that, like, oh, what do we do? It looks like the Sealy ambassador. They asked the chef to prepare it, and it looks like the Sealy ambassador. I thought they caught and ate their prey, killed and ate it live. So why would they bring the lizard unless they're making a statement to say, haha. We're not interested in peace. We're not interested in Federation. We're not interested in anything but killing Sealy. And we're going to not only do that, we're going to flaunt it.
I like what they're trying to do. It definitely two different stories mashed together. The B story is a weird comedy based on whatever eating other sentience is.
Whatever ism. Right?
Yeah, I'm sure maybe you can come up with a coin the term, but we need that word. We don't have it in the English language. And the other one was a very weird Twilight Zone-esque kind of thing going on. Their whole thing and them not being them. But I like what they were trying to do with the because it's the moral message and meaning, to borrow from Mission Log. I think they were trying to go for, it's wrong to eat meat. It's wrong to eat animals. I think they were going for some kind of plant-based vegan moral lesson for us to go, I guess it's okay if they eat their goats live or something. Or whatever animals they're bringing along, because we eat meat, we eat animals, and we don't eat them live, and we don't kill them and eat them unless you're like living out in the Midwest and that's what you do to survive and you don't have grocery stores. But then they let you accept that and go, okay, well, that's okay. And then Riker just explains to Yar how just do what they want, and he's okay with that. So you're kind of like in that moral ambiguity where, okay, I understand. But then when they start eating the other ambassadors, that's when it's doing the whole I'm black on one side and white on the other side kind of part of the episode.
Wow,
where you're supposed to go, oh, maybe it is wrong to eat other animals. So I think that's what they were trying to do with that. I don't know, Dorothy, if she's a vegan or not, or what's going on, or was.
I have a feeling you're extremely vegan centric for some unfathomable reason. Who could figure out why? But I don't think that is the message at all.
You don't think you're getting that? You weren't picking up on that? I was picking up on that. I thought I was being taught a lesson that maybe let's not kill each other and eat each other. I don't know.
I just thought it was funny. It was like dog eat dog. Dog eat dog. And I like the fact but it also helps point out one of the things that they kept on hammering home in the first season, and Roddenberry's tenet of no such thing as conflict among humanity. And it's the point in this where Picard and Riker are having a talk after they meet with the delegates. It's right there it's in the tease, I think, before the credits, and they cannot fathom the notion of them even having any kind of conflict. They're like, even when we read about it in our own history, I just don't get it. And like it's just so foreign to me. There's always going to be some kind of conflict. It's just an emotional reaction. I mean, how you deal with it is fine. I mean, but even Vulcans have emotions. They have crazy, dangerous emotions, but they learn to suppress them. The fact that you have just these automatons saying we don't have conflict, we don't even understand the notion of conflict, isn't that weird? Ha, ha, ha.
And funny enough, even over economic systems.
Yeah, it just strains. It strains. I like to say this a lot on the show. It strains my credulity.
Credulity. I had to look that up, but now I understand what it means.
Yeah. So I
Um,
mean, yeah.
that was that when mentioning God images and economic systems. I think that shaped part of my development. That those couple lines of being more accepting of other economic systems and people, and understanding why most wars are about religion, things like
Could
that.
you? Was that this episode they talked about
Yeah,
that?
yeah. When they're on the bridge and talking about how they don't understand uh, why they're fighting, and then Picard was talking to Riker about God images and economic systems, which seems silly when you say it out loud, economic systems, but most of our wars were either based on God images or economic systems. So that's again sci-fi mirroring our real life back to us, but in an absurd way, so we understand it better.
You got a lot more out of this episode than I did, man.
Again, I watched it
Veganism
47
and
times, so
yeah.
48 now.
I mean, I guess this aspect of that episode, or that aspect of this episode, how should I say it? I think the second way was right. But yeah, I was just really impressed that it's the first time we saw the dress uniforms. So what do I know?
That was nice. But Picard wasn't in the tights with the dress uniform, I don't think, right? We didn't see it. I think he just had his normal pants on, maybe.
Oh, why they have versions with tights as they
I think
go
it's
on?
in Haven. Everybody's wearing like what are those yoga pants with their dress uniform tops.
Got their Lululemons.
Yeah, exactly. Riding up. So it's weird to see Picard walk away like that. I liked in this episode, again, going back to that part where the delegates want their meat brought to them still alive. I think it was a good building block for Riker's character, because we find out that he isn't as much like an automaton as much as the rest of them might be, and like just following tradition and like what's expected of everybody and their general thoughts. He's like, he has a certain like manly bravado and an independence and a different way of thinking. Like he takes everything individually. So like where he wasn't confused and he said just bring them their animals or their meat. And I think that we'll see that a little bit later when he goes on the Klingon ship and he's more accepting of their culture and going along with that. So he's not like, he's more accepting of other traditions, and that's a big major part of who William Riker becomes. So we see a little seed of that here, I think.
You know, it's funny you mention that, because it also harkens back to just a little line right when the Sealy beam in, and they're just like, "Oh, we can smell them. They've been here already." Oh yeah, only because their planet was first on the route that we have to follow to what is it?
Parliament
Excelsior,
and the
Excalibur,
Funkadelics.
Parliament. Yes, Parliament. Thank you. Probably my favorite cigarette's Parliament.
I always thought of the Funkadelics. What was it, George Clinton or something?
I've never even heard of that.
Oh yeah, it's a really cool funk band.
But anyway, so they say we have to get quarters that are further away, and obviously they know the real danger. 100 meters ain't gonna cut it. You know, give me 100 decks, and then and we have to be upwind. Now you would expect Riker, as the first officer, to say, "Well, there's no wind on the ship. Everything is vented. You won't smell." But instead of explaining to them that's a ridiculous request, you're not going to, he just says, "Yeah, that can be arranged. Let's go." Like he doesn't even blink. He just accommodates. No matter how ridiculous it is, he is just there to accommodate and to facilitate. So maybe that's part of it. But at the same time, when he does get to know them a little bit better, and you notice he doesn't do this with the Sealy, he does it with the Antikins when they're talking about the meat. And I guess it's because he realizes that they're a more aggressive of the two races, and maybe he needs to stake a claim of who they are very forcefully, or at least bluntly, so that he can gain their respect. So it's like an alpha deal, right? Because they're dogs. So he's got an alpha on them, and he's got to be like, well, you know, she doesn't understand because we don't enslave animals for food anymore. And it's just like, take that. I've seen you eat meat. But it's not meat, you know?
Yeah.
So
it's replicated meat, which I think is okay. Morally, I think that's okay. even though I eat meat. You saw the steak I ate, right? We talked about it.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. You know, I eat meat.
Yep. But if I had a choice between replicated meat and real meat, I would pick the replicated meat, of course, lab grown meat, something, you know that.
As long as it tastes good.
Yeah. But I would always pick. I would always pick the one that caused less suffering. So, but you know, steak's got a steak. But I think by then it'll be replicated, and in the meantime we'll have lab grown, and you know, I eat the fake stuff all the time too, so I vary it up.
Hey, good for you. You're living 20 minutes into the future, like Max Headroom.
20 minutes into the future. Love Max Headroom. What was that episode called? Matt Frewer was in Matter of Time, was it? Or what was it?
He's from Jersey. That's what I know.
He's from Jersey. Steals the future tech. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to go to Jersey in a couple of hours.
That's another episode. But yeah, so do you think Riker picks sides?
Yeah, you know, I think that if he had to pick, he might pick the snakes over the foxes. What do you think?
I thought he was just like dealing with them. I didn't think he cared either way. He was just trying to make it go away.
I think if he had to pick sides, he clearly didn't give a shit about them either way, because he let one species eat the other species. So,
and then the funny music, the joking music plays after they find out. They killed another one of the ambassadors. Boom, 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 boom.
Womp womp.
What? Yeah, and they all smile and look at each other. I'm like, is that funny? Is that a joke? Is murdering a delegate funny? I guess so.
I mean, Dorothea Fontana made it funny. So
yeah. So
thank you, Dorothy.
Dorothy, one of the great writers. Yes.
Yeah. I'm wondering if this is Dorothy. It's just struck me as funny, and maybe because it's the first sort of interaction that we get with Worf that's somewhat that's more than him just taking an order on the bridge.
Yeah.
And when he is in the sensor control room, they got a whole room just for sensor maintenance. It's the sensor maintenance room.
It looked like maybe engineering corridors just with the doors shut. Something like that, it was supposed to be a different room, but they were definitely reusing another set. Yeah.
But when Geordi said, I didn't think that you were interested in this stuff, and he says, I'm not, but the captain wants all of his junior officers to learn. And that struck me as so unlike Worf in the first season. That's more of, I think, how Michael would have played him in like season 3 or season 4. Yeah. But that just struck me as a genuinely amusing line and a genuinely amusing moment. So I'm wondering how much of this is the writer who did the story. What was that again? Michael Halpern? Michael Burnham. And how much of this is Dorothy polishing it and like giving it a little bit of spin and a little bit of flair, because it's the first, I guess maybe it's the first genuine character moment that we get from Worf.
Definitely.
So yeah, and I found it really amusing. So
I wrote down Worf smiley face exclamation point.
There you go.
Yeah. But I knew what that meant. But yeah, this was the first time Worf was Worf, I think. Other than that, he's just grumbling. Rah, rah, rah. But this one's he's actually, you can see the character who ultimately became Worf in that moment. I really enjoyed that. The funny, weird part about that scene was the lightning effect. It's like force lightning. It's like crazy. And like Geordi's like, I may have saw something.
Right? I mean, it's just sure. Like, I mean, he was practically leaping.
With like on a radio tower, right? It was crazy.
Right, yeah.
And then later on, you know, when again, he's blind, yes, but you know, he could see better than us. But better isn't always better, or more isn't always better. But like he's on the console, he's on the con, and then Picard is like got his arm like 6 inches from LeVar's face, and all this lightning, and he's just like.
I wonder if they're not supposed to see that. I wonder if that's just
is that for
our
us?
Benefit.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe there was like the cross communication in the streams or something. I'm thinking it's an artifact of 4:3 standard definition. You had to communicate to the audience something was happening.
Yeah,
now that we're seeing it clearly, it's like, oh my god, you'd be like, force lightning.
So yeah, so it goes from Worf to Beverly.
Wow.
And then we understand that Worf has no memory of it.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened? And then Beverly is just like, oh no, it's okay. You know, she
we're
becomes
both
Stefford
very all
Beverly
right now. Yeah.
all of a sudden. Yeah. I mean, it's
I
fine. Don't
noticed in
look
this
over here.
episode, Gates basically has this one, okay, you're not Crusher now, you're something else or somebody else or drunk. She's got that one mode. It seems very similar to other modes. It seems like drunk mode. It seems like just the same. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's like seems like a similar choice as when she was drunk in Where No One Has Gone Before.
I feel like you've made a study of Gates McFadden, so you have the advantage on me, sir. I look forward to having as much Gates lore in my little brain as you have in yours.
Is it time for my Gates McFadden story yet? I don't know.
Maybe that's up to you.
Okay,
save it. We already told the Spider-Man story.
Yeah,
we had the
once we get over 300 views on one of these, I'll tell my Gates McFadden story.
All right, sounds like a plan.
So big into Dr. Crusher. I found it weird that later on in the episode when Wesley talks to her about what they were talking about sciencing the science for Wesley's homework and what he was studying, that Beverly didn't connect to the missing time that she didn't remember as something strange when she was going, oh, I actually don't remember you talking to me about that earlier. You would think she would be like, that's strange. I had this missing period of time. I was in sick bay and then I was on the bridge and I don't know what happened, but it was like, oh no, I don't remember you talking about that. You know, like there was a big disconnect there between those two parts.
Could it be she's a mom of a very smart kid? And oftentimes he doesn't seem to have a lot of friends or any kind of social life because he's like 17 and ordering dessert before dinner when he gets drunk instead of like finding a girl. I think
he hacked the holodeck. I'm just saying he hacked the holodeck already. He's spent.
The way I choose to read that, first of all, I love that scene. That's probably my favorite scene in the entire episode because it's just, you know, it's chill Beverly at home. It's Beverly after dark.
Red dress Beverly.
Red dress Beverly. She's just curled up, reading a book, and her son walks in, you know, and they're just at home being a family.
Yeah, I love that.
And he's just like, you know, he's complaining, and he's just like, and when she said to him, I honestly don't remember that conversation. I think it could be that's a common occurrence because Wes is probably spouting a lot with his young enthusiasm. And maybe half of it goes over her head because it's like too tech to tech. Maybe she just zones him out sometimes because she just needs a break. And maybe she realizes that he's too smart for her to lie to. So she might say quite frequently, Wesley, I quite frankly just don't remember. You say a lot. You just say a lot, kid, you know?
Yeah. Maybe she was just really into her book. Maybe she was reading her grandma's diary. I don't know.
Right. She was looking for how to make that candle recipe.
Yeah, the candle recipe is very important. I really love the moment because I love seeing casual Bev. She wasn't freaked out. She wasn't like stressed. She wasn't doing an autopsy. She was just at home. And, you know, like you would like, to a greater extension, you know, if my childhood dreams had come true, she would be sitting on my couch reading a book in that dress. So, I like that scene. But you don't think it was weird that she didn't notice it?
No, again, that's just how I played it in my head because it was just, I guess maybe because it just to me, and this is something that they've done very well so far in the first season. The relationship between Wes and Beverly always seems very natural. And it just seemed like a very natural family moment. And maybe it's not something to get upset about. Maybe she'll think about it, but they didn't play it as a reveal for drama. They just played it as a nice moment between mother and son. And maybe a little bit of a weird moment, but it was still very natural. Like everything about it seemed very organic.
Do you think she did think about it, but she wasn't going to worry Wes and she wasn't going to bring it up and make a big deal out of it? Because maybe she thought, maybe I'm having trouble with my memory and I need to check it out, but I don't want to worry him right now. Think that's possible?
Yeah, I think that could be. Sure. I mean, and do no harm, right?
Yep. So what I watched this and it reminded me a few weeks ago, Rennie and I were driving home from some IMAX movie. I forget which one. And, Footloose came on and we're rocking out on the radio to the Kenny Loggins song Footloose. And I was like, I still haven't seen this movie, and I can't believe I haven't seen this movie. And Rennie said to me from the back seat, she goes, "You took me to a Fathom event and we watched Footloose." I was like, "We did?" She's like, "Yeah." I was like, "I have no memory of watching Footloose ever. I've always wanted to. It's got a good soundtrack. It's got Kevin Bacon. Why haven't I watched it? The reboot came out. I wanted to watch that, but I didn't watch it because I wanted to watch the original first, and I don't ever remember watching it." She was like, "We went and saw it, and it sounds like something we do because we always go to the movies and watch old movies on the big screen and pay for the $27 popcorn to watch the old movies that we have at home on Blu-ray or something." They even own the Blu-ray, but I have no memory of Footloose, so I don't know who's wrong in that situation.
So now I'm curious to know, have you ever seen the memes where the little comics where Beverly is always high? And,
no, send them to me.
Oh, they're hilarious. There's one where like Jellicoe is just telling dad jokes and like dunking on Deanna. And then in the course of these Jellicoe cartoons or like panel strips, whatever they are, Beverly always shows up and she's inevitably high, and maybe this is where that came from. Maybe she's just like baked on that couch.
It's possible. It's possible.
I really don't remember, man.
It's way legal in that. One of the episodes we were talking about on Disco, we were talking about the Orville potentially doing it one day. I was trying to convince you, but there you can just replicate weed on the Orville, so they get baked sometimes from that. So that's interesting. Beverly, I don't know if you saw her on, what was it, Shuttlepod Show? She talked about that a little bit. But yeah, send me those. The ones I've seen have been, what is it, O'Brien at work, like when nobody else is in the transporter room.
Oh yeah, that's more of a cartoon. Yeah, these are more like they just take stills from the episodes and put like word bubbles over them. Kind of like I have a friend, Nick Yeager. She does Moon Show. Mm-hmm. And she's got a website, superanemic.com, where she does comedic recaps in that style. She'll take like stills from the episode and break it down, but break it down in a very funny way. Mm-hmm. So I would recommend you go see those. She's recapping Disco obviously right now. But she's been on Next Gen and she's got all TOS. And
very
so, superanemic.com.
Send me some stuff.
So anyway, that's
did I see
way tangent.
I don't know.
I have no memory of
seeing it.
But then if no memory falls in the forest and no one's there to remember it.
That's true.
Did you actually see it?
So the question is, what movie did Serenity and I go see that she thinks was Footloose?
This is the Mandela effect.
It could be. It could be. I'm very firm believer of that because I do remember Mandela dying in prison and watching the whole funeral at home when I was a kid. It was on the Today Show and it never happened. So weird.
So there you go.
All right. So maybe we did see Footloose in an alternate reality. And
that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Okay. Well, eventually I want to see it.
Foot what now?
You know that movie with Michael J. Fox where he dances around town? Yeah, it's got the soundtrack by Ray Parker Jr. It's pretty cool.
Okay.
I think one of the funniest lines, we were talking about Worf earlier, but I think one of the funniest lines of the episode is, I still don't know what caused your memory loss. And Worf said, "I still don't remember having one." That was funny. That was like the first classic Worf one-liner. I still don't remember having one. Laugh out loud every time.
Yeah. This is where, I guess maybe because this is the part of the episode that started to drag for me and started to annoy me. And I understand that might have been funny, but I was getting wise to the fact at this point that them having memory loss was going to be one of the central mysteries of the episode, and they wouldn't put, 2 and 2 together until well after we all knew what was going on. And that is a pet peeve of mine. So as it got progressively further into that story and no one is making the connection, and now Deanna has to freaking hypnotize them to point out the obvious, I was having other thoughts than, oh, that was a funny line.
So that was the whole thing of the audience being so far ahead of the characters, right?
In my opinion, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something that Trek is notoriously guilty of. There are so many episodes where something's happening in the opening tease and you know that it's going to be resolved by act 4, but they're playing the entire episode as if this could be real, as if like when Kira wakes up and she's a Cardassian. I mean, we all know that Kira's not a Cardassian. Why do we have to go through this exercise of an episode? It's just
Do we know that though? Do we know that?
So,
We don't know.
yes, we know that.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Okay. Good
Yes,
episode.
yes.
I enjoyed that one anyway. What did you think of the hypnosis machine? Did she just had a little?
What was that? Was that an iPad? An iPod? What was that?
It was something. It had like
It was
a
a
little
Zune.
LED effect. It was a cool prop. I don't remember ever seeing like the swirling lights on it before. It kind of reminded me of that, like from the planetarium thing, or the where Kirk lost his memory or pain and suffering.
Oh, Dagger of the Mind.
Dagger of the Mind. Yeah, it reminded me of that a little bit.
The Tantalus device.
But probably the most fun meta, I don't know if it was meant this way, but like it's a very meta thing about this episode was like Worf says something. It was right after the I don't remember having one. And then Deanna says to him, "Oh, well, I think the doctor will explain that to you." Right? Something along those lines. And like she's setting up the other character to do the exposition scene, and then just Beverly walks away. so like Deanna was in a television show setting up for exposition from another character, and the other character just walks away. And I have never seen that before or after. I just lost myself after that. I thought it was hilarious.
All right, I'll have to rewatch again for that.
I think the doctor will explain that to you, and then just Beverly walks away. And they're just like, it's like somebody's in a television show, but they're the only one that knows they're in the television show, which would be the alien inside Beverly.
See,
it was crazy.
Maybe I was just still getting over. You're talking about the hypnosis prop, which I did. Yeah. I noticed that 100%. But that funky medical helmet thingy that Beverly is wearing, what the? No, but it was like a skull cap, and it had like a little Borg appliance on one side.
It needed the Spock helmet, little woo light. That was weird.
What in the hell was that thing? And do they make one of those that we can get? I'm sure
I would buy one.
There's a replica of it somewhere. I have to
download it and 3D print it or something.
Yeah.
That was just one of those moments for me where like, I'm like, am I seeing what everybody else is seeing? And did they intend this? I wasn't baked. It's been a long time, but I'm curious to see what Portland's Place says about that, because maybe they were baked while they watched that episode. But it was like when you happen to be high or from legally prescribed medical marijuana, and you're watching television where you don't see the show as the characters, you see them as the actors in the studio warehouse with the crew around them the whole time. And like you can, in your brain, you think you've seen like their whole backstory for everybody who lived that day and drove to the studio and got to the studio and rehearsed and then set up for camera blocking and then filmed the scene. That's what it felt like.
Okay.
So, wow. So you can't really enjoy the story because you're not watching a story. You're watching people film an episode of a story. It's crazy, but
I'm glad I don't smoke pot is what I'm getting from that.
I'm interested to see what Portland's Place said.
Well, I mean, I'm sure Portland's has many things to say about many a topic, and I
would like to be our technical advisor in that case.
Yeah, and this episode is just so rife for veins of discussion. I mean, what about oh my God, Data? And
Sherlock, that was great. I loved it.
Yeah.
Did you like it? Hate it? What was it?
I mean, I liked it. I like the fact again that Data is emulating emotion in this first season much more than he does. He loses that trait you would think that soon, even though Data doesn't have emotion, would program him to interact as if he did, as if he were human. And even if it's just, programming, going through the motions of a smile, even though there's no feeling behind it, it makes much more sense to me. And I think it's when they started having more, I'm just going to say it, when the show started crawling up its own ass after Measure of a Man, and everything had to be about the human condition and Data's struggle to become more human, we lost a lot of great Data characteristics that we see in season 1, because it had to then all of a sudden, every story around him had to be about him connecting with humanity in some way, instead of just interacting as if he were human, but he's not.
Mm-hmm.
And I really loved that aspect of this, because he's got the pipe and he's like elementary, and then he's sure, like even like he's capable of forgetting, and
it's elementary, my dear Riker, sir.
Yeah, and I feel like I know I go on and on, but this is to me one of the great losses of Next Gen as it gets more and more self-serious.
There was a definite left turn made there somewhere, and maybe after Measure of a Man. I never noticed it. I really didn't. I just followed like a natural evolution of his character. But now that you pointed out, it's like glaringly obvious.
Yeah, I mean, it is very natural, the evolution in which Brent plays the character. It's not like he becomes that all of a sudden. It does gradually slide into that as he finds the groove, as the writers find what they want to do with the characters. We're still in the Wild West here. It's only episode 7. Nobody knows who these people are.
Which is the 6th episode, really, right?
Yeah, I'm
not
counting
really production order versus airing order.
So yeah, well, we got to let go of that. Nobody cares.
Yeah, I like the Sherlock Holmes stuff just because he was able to absorb it all at once, and I found that interesting and like a superpower that I wish I had if I was an android. And I also this was my first exposure, my first bite at the apple at Sherlock Holmes. So after I watched this episode, I remember going to the public library and checking out, I think, the collection, the best of whatever. The one with all the main stories, the Red-Headed League and all that stuff.
Yep. I think I have it right up here on my shelf.
Yeah. So that's a Trek and Tell for the future.
Yeah. I would maybe grab it up today. Yeah.
So
I might be confusing it with my copy of Christmas Carol, which can also be a Trek and Tell for the future.
Yeah, actually, they do that again. Yeah. An undigested bit of beef. There's more gravy than grave of you.
Gobna.
So this was my first exposure to Sherlock Holmes. So I had started getting into Sherlock Holmes because Data liked Sherlock Holmes, and I wanted to be Data, and I was an impressionable youth. So by the time we get to Elementary, My Dear Data, I'm all in, but we'll get to that. But I like that, and I like the pipe, and I liked them tolerating him and his like cosplaying as Sherlock, or not cosplaying, but character playing as Sherlock, and just get rid of that damn pipe.
Yeah, and they even allude to the fact that Picard is a fan of murder mysteries, and that's where you're getting into more of the Dixon Hill stuff for him, as opposed he wants more of a noirish rather than a Victorian mystery. So, and again, this is something that you only see knowing where these characters are going, because you didn't know when this first aired that Picard is talking about Dixon Hill.
That's true,
but now you do. And it's a nice little retcon that you can make that fits seamlessly in, even though they didn't know what they were doing. And it's probably just a happy accident. So,
did you ever see my Picard video I did, the 4K Picard video?
I think you sent it to me, but I didn't watch it.
You didn't watch it?
Yeah, I'm a shitty friend. I don't watch anything you send me.
That's true. I keep sending you stuff because one day when I'm gone, you'll go through all the things and then finally watch them. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Anyway, thank you for that. You macabre bastard.
my most viewed video I've ever edited was the Picard song video. It's got crazy amounts of views, but there's an Easter egg in the Dixon Hill part of it when he's in the Dixon Hill. When you watch the Dixon Hill episode, which is The Big Goodbye, I think I took it from. Yep. There's a picture of a boxer, I think a black and white boxer, like a pugilist. Is that the right word?
Yes.
In a frame, and that they like just when they did the reverse angle, they moved some of the props. So the picture's the same on two sides of the room, which makes no sense unless Dixon Hill was really into this boxing dude, which would be another whole book. But so what I did is in one of the picture frames, I replaced it with Serenity wearing like a trench coat and hat, like she was when she was in her private detective phase, because she had a private detective agency for a while and she had a spyglass and everything. So that picture is actually in the video.
Oh, isn't that nice?
You gotta go look for it. Okay, what were we talking
about? The world's best dad.
So we're talking about The Big Goodbye. No, Only Among Us.
I can't wait to get to that episode.
People aren't people. They're not themselves. They're inhabited by other. I think I want to see a super edit of all the characters that were possessed by somebody else on TNG, because it seems to happen a lot. Is it me, or does it happen a lot?
Is this the first instance of it?
I think so, because even when they were drunk, they were still themselves. But
Yeah.
now they're totally other people.
That was just a virus, right? So
Yes.
you can just say that. So if virus is possession.
Well, it was a while ago.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think they do it better in the subsequent episodes where it happens, because it's not a secret. Mm-hmm. That's one thing also that annoys me, when something is happening and everybody is ignorant about it for dramatic purposes, for story reasons. It's just like, I can't stand when whole episodes hinge around the fact that one character is not who they seem to be, and we all know it, but the crew doesn't know it, or whatever. And it's so tedious. So this was, again, bordering on that, I guess, because the thing was body surfing, and then became the Ghost in the Machine for all intents and purposes. That made it a tiny bit more interesting. It wasn't just one character, but at the same time, it took them so. Where's Deanna in this? She can't sense.
She's hypnotizing people.
She's hypnotizing people. I mean, she's a freaking mind reader. She's just like,
true. She can just read their
mind. Why does she need to
hypnotize
hypnotize them? Like, she should be able to tell them, "You're not Beverly. What are you in there? What
well,
are you
it's
doing?
that natural duality that everybody has that she's used to.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, so I think that they tried to write it away with that. Yeah, but I
appreciate the line that they put in there to give us the Band-Aid over that glaring situational.
But
anomaly.
That's a sense. But it's also, it's just like, I guess when you think about one of the criticisms that the writers have about doing Star Trek, the tech gets so advanced that you can't do certain types of stories,
right?
Because, and like you said, every 80s movie falls apart if people have cell phones.
Right. That's why movies today take place in the 80s, because movies today, everything would be solved in 15 seconds.
Right. So here's the thing. We have to write around Deanna because we want to do this story, but we know Deanna could suss it out in any second. So we have to actually make some kind of bullshit in-universe excuse as to why she can't. But it will never hamper her again. Don't worry about it, because then we'll write the character the way the character's supposed to be written, because we got this story out of our system.
Force light,
or she'll be one of the ones that's possessed.
How?
Because then it takes her off the board.
This one, she was possessed in the other one where they're all ghosts. In 10 forward, that was a good one. Anyway, I found it odd that the energy could transfer between people and computers. So I think either the computers. Maybe it was saying that humans and computers are similar, or
they are.
Well, yeah, because software, hardware, and I guess chemical, but electricity is what the synapses and stuff. So I guess it's possible. But what I found interesting was, like, when Picard was beamed out with the joined entity from the cloud, Deanna still sensed him out there. So he didn't need to be reconstructed to be conscious, which I found odd. Well,
and what does that say about the nature of consciousness? Like, if he is out there dispersed, is he somehow sublimated into this energy being? So everything that makes him is still there somehow and still somehow connected, just in a different way. But, like, wouldn't that change who he is if the connectome in his brain is completely altered by this gaseous energy, whatever
anomaly, cloud? It was a cloud moving at warp speed. I found that odd too.
Yeah. So, I found it really weird that they would actually go through the step of him beaming off the ship into the void, and being essentially sublimated by this other being, yet somehow retaining some sense of identity, as evidenced by the hokey P.
The P.
Yeah. And now I'm trying to remember. I mean, he seemed to be all on board with the idea, kind of like the Tuvix thing.
Yeah.
We actually, I like being me. This is who I am now.
Right.
And
Right.
Jane was like, no, sorry, we got 2 actors under contract, so you got to go. Um, wouldn't this scar Picard like his Borg encounter scarred Picard? Because he was taken over by this entity. He did beam out into the void. And it was only by transporter magic that they are somehow able to get him back. So, number one, was he really in that moment convinced that this is something he wanted to do? Or was he like fighting, kicking, and screaming and taken against his will because of a stronger force that was driving his decisions? Oh, we can never talk about that because this guy ate that guy. Whoops. See you next time.
Hey, cannibalism or something such. I thought about a lot about this. Ferengi. I thought a lot about this past week because I watched Lonely Among Us right after we finished recording our last episode, and then I watched it again during the week, I think, and then once before we recorded this episode. So I've been thinking about this. And have you ever seen like documentaries or videos, scientific videos about people that have had their different hemispheres of their brain disconnected?
No, I haven't ever seen anything about
So
that.
there's like a small connection between each hemisphere of the brain, and when that's severed, it's very interesting rabbit hole to go down. Each hemisphere of the brain, each side of the brain develops their own. I don't know if develops, but expresses their own individuality a lot more than we do in real life. But like when I think Deanna references this, like when you're talking to yourself and deciding what to do, who are you talking to? And when those hemispheres of the brain have to be disconnected, I think it's for severe epilepsy. I'm not sure. You might want to look that up. But like one part of your brain can see pictures and one part of your brain can read texts. So like they can put something on a screen in front of people that have had their hemispheres separated, and like they can write with their left hand or write with their right hand, and the two brains see totally different things. And then like there's people that live with this every day, and like their hands fight with each other. Like if they're trying to pick out an outfit, the one side of the brain doesn't want to wear that, so they want to wear that, so they have to like fight physically themselves what they want to do. So there's 2 unique personalities. One usually is like in people with our hemispheres connected. There's usually a dominant, and then there's the weaker personality that submits to the more dominant one, the one that's taken over. So that's how we function. We like talk to ourselves and make a decision, and we go forward. So I think that's what was happening with Picard, where he was just like in the background and aware and part of the personality. Because obviously this alien cloud power force energy can read all the thoughts and memories and even replicate all the accents and know everything about the crew that the character, that the person they're inhabiting knows. So there's definitely a connection there, but the alien entity is definitely dominant.
All right. I mean, but so it's obvious though that this is not Picard, because they go in with all deference and they're like, "Sir, this happened to Worf and this happened to Beverly, and we think that you need to get a complete medical scan." And he's like, "No, you need to get a complete medical scan. Get out of my office," And it's just like, obviously, this is not Jean-Luc Picard, but they just go, "Oh,
Right.
Okay, all right. What do we do? What do we do? I don't know. What do we do?"
It was an interesting part of the episode, because that's like a whole nother part of the episode, which I forgot about until watching it again. Because they go down this rabbit hole where there's this whole mutiny room. I remember Picard just hops off the chair and like does a little dance when he before he sets course back to the cloud. But there's this mutiny room, and in this mutiny room, in the background, there's like models of starships.
Yes,
and I noticed one of them looked a lot like the NX-01.
One of them, it looked just like this one.
Was that it? Okay, yeah.
No, it was the. I can never do it when on the camera because it's not mirrored.
The A, or before the A, just the regular 1701.
It's just the regular 1701. Yeah.
Mhm.
And maybe there was one that looked like the NX-01. I'm not sure. Maybe they just had an Akira class. Had they developed the Akira class at that
I don't
point?
think so. I don't think it was developed yet until for Enterprise. So I was just seeing something that wasn't there.
No, because everybody says that the NX-01 is just a cop on the Akira class.
Oh, okay.
So there might have been a ship that was similar.
Hmm.
But anyway, we have to go back and look at them in more depth because there was like a Galileo type shuttlecraft.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it
Oh,
was
yeah. The exact
big.
model for Galileo.
It was,
Like,
yeah, it was
yeah, like,
big.
yeah, it was really
And
cool.
then-
I was
and
wondering if
then-
that was a filming model when I saw it.
And then off in the corner, there was just
Mhm.
the 1701, no bloody A, B, C, or D.
D or D. I can't
So,
wait to get to that
yeah.
one. We got to read the
So,
book
oh my
and watch the
God,
episode.
that's a terrible episode.
What?
Anyway,
Come on.
oh, we have a lot to
Come
talk about
on.
there.
We'll get there.
We'll get there.
Montgomery Scott, James Stewart. Come on. Jordy
We'll
Lunson and
get
Martin Lefton.
there.
We'll get there.
Yeah. So, I mean, so the mutiny room had all the starships,
Mutiny room.
and, there's never been a mutiny in Starfleet history. Oh, wait a minute. We're going to
Wait,
work on that, too.
We've seen Michael Burnham, but we've seen that mutiny discussion before in Star Trek and many times after.
So, but it was just weird.
Turnabout Intruder, maybe was that a most popular one?
Oh, yeah, with Janice Lester.
Mm-hmm. Basically,
sure.
the same situation. Yeah.
Yeah, and
You know what I
McCoy is
like-
a jerk in that one.
You know what? I'll let you go.
Well, no, I just wanted to just on the thought of like the mutiny.
Mhm.
Now, here's
There's a
another
mutiny!
thing where this is just a scene of the characters laboriously coming to the conclusion that we all know is what's happening. And it's just like, why am I sitting through this? You know? So anyway, that's I guess so. Now
do we all know this because we've seen it 48 times, or do we know this because it's obvious?
We know it because it's obvious. It's obvious to everyone watching. Yeah, it's obvious, and you would expect your crew to be a little bit more astute. They're Starfleet, for God's sake.
This brings up another thing. I really like the intimate scene, which is like just a separate beat of again exploring the Beverly and Picard relationship, where she goes, "Jean-Luc, are you in there?" I just love that. I really love that part. And because, she delivers a medical test and he just throws it on the desk, which I got a chuckle out of. But when she goes, "Jean-Luc, please, are you in there?" I like that.
Well, I like that too. I was conflating this episode with another episode where Picard gets taken over by something or somebody and he invites Beverly to dinner.
Hey, yeah, that's a good
And
one.
then-
That is Allegiance.
Okay. I can't
Where,
wait
where
to watch
they got to
that
eat the
one.
hockey pucks, the Petri dishes.
Yes, I don't remember. But so we'll get there. That's another
Yeah.
season 1, right?
Yeah.
I believe it
They,
is.
they,
anyway.
they repeat these tropes a lot. Yeah.
Okay, but I mean, it's always interesting when they do it with Beverly and Jean-Luc.
Mhm.
To me.
Yeah.
Me.
I love that
So-
relationship. That's my favorite, probably. Well, that and Riker and Troy, both of them. But
Oh yeah, and Worf and Troy.
no, Worf and
And,
Troy. I love them together.
And
I literally listened to them both talk about paying their taxes for an hour and a half. One time when I was in line at a Star Trek convention, and they were mere 8 inches away from me on the other side of a very thin curtain. I love the actors, but I don't love the characters together. I think Riker and Troy should.
I
end
was
up together.
teasing.
I'm just saying.
I was teasing.
I was like,
Oh, by
do
the
they
way-
know that there's like Trekkies right on the other side of this curtain? They're just like in their green room, which is just
Yeah,
like,
they're doing it for you.
oh, maybe. I appreciated it. I got a live Marina and Dorney conversation. They were just like eating donuts and drinking Diet Pepsis. This is before Marina came out looking for the cigarette. I wonder what else happened in there. No, I would have heard that. But it was so cool because I was just literally on the other side of like a bed sheet strapped to like pole frames and just listening about them paying their taxes and different things. And it was very interesting.
That's magic.
It was.
It's
It was
the magic of fandom.
worth the price of admission right there.
Here we go again, though. Another trope of season 1 that they've used way too many times. Wes is right,
Mhm.
and nobody listens. So
Yeah, Singh, assistant
And this is
engineer. Singh.
this is what gets Singh killed. He's like, off to school with you now, lad.
I like that he acknowledged, I tend to agree, but you have a schedule.
Yeah, and the captain is very, very strict about that schedule. He's said no uncertain terms. So
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I like that they acknowledge that it wasn't just the boy. Go away, the boy. It made sense in universe, is what I'm saying. But the one thing about Singh, he dies, right? He's assistant engineer Singh. He's working on this problem that's taking over the whole shipwide like crisis that's going on that they can't figure out. And Picard says, "You did talk to Chief Engineer Argyle, didn't you?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I did. Where the hell's Argyle? If a crisis this big is happening, where is Argyle? That's what I want to know."
Argyle, he's crawling around in the Jeffries tubes.
I mean, it might be a day off, and he might be in the holodeck, trying to get a fan campaign to win an election or something. But a crisis like this, he needs to be in engineering.
He could be having amnesia somewhere because this is just an energy being. There's nothing to say. There's nothing to say that it can only infect one person at a time.
I didn't think about that. Do we see the whole chain of events the whole time? I think we do.
I think we do. I'm just retconning Argyle's absence. I think what happened was he had some leftover hallucinations from the last week, and he was being a pretty ballerina.
I would.
In a hallway somewhere. That's it.
Hallway, and maybe he is just in general, and then he's just using that for an excuse.
Right, and then he got stuck behind a wall of fire, and it's really hard to set.
Two caught on fire.
And it's really hard to set fire to a titanium hull, so he had to figure that. He had to tech for that.
Mm-hmm. But finally he figures it out. But more important than the whole Enterprise not working.
No, exactly.
We see O'Brien again. I think, is this the first time we see O'Brien since maybe Encounter at Farpoint?
I think so, and because I was reading it in the companion, I quite frankly did not even recognize him, or if I saw him, I didn't remark upon it, and I was total candor here. I was dozing through this episode the second time I watched it before we got on camera because I didn't watch it since like you said, we watched it last week in prep to do it last week, but then it just didn't work out. So I was just mainly skim watching it to get refamiliarized with my notes, and I must have just had my eyes closed when Colin walked on screen.
I wrote O'Brien explanation points.
It says it here in the Star Trek Next Generation companion.
What's it say?
That it is the second appearance of the character, and it's not the same character as he was in Encounter at Farpoint.
What?
And they hadn't solidified who he was yet. Okay.
So he might have been Scottish and not Irish.
Yeah, maybe. He might have been industrial transporter tech instead of like a cargo transporter tech instead of a people transporter tech.
Makes sense.
You don't know. You just don't know. Yeah, and it's because they have him listed as first security guard, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, here we go. A scene as a hapless security ensign chasing the ambassador was Farpoint actor Colin Meaney, still in an unnamed role. The part was not consistent with the pilot, where he had appeared as a command division ensign, but at least here he wore the same mustard color uniform he would sport in season 2 as Lieutenant O'Brien, the transporter chief.
Nice.
So he's a lieutenant and a chief until he's not a lieutenant anymore. I guess.
I don't understand ranks and stuff. I kind of like this because this, and of course Encounter Farpoint, and I'm sure he's in a couple of other episodes right before the transporter chief, right? But it's cool that they just don't come up with a new character that's the transporter chief. It's the same actor that we've seen previously. It makes it more real. Like, it makes the universe more real, I think. In real life, it's probably just he was a nice guy and they brought him back because they liked working with him.
Yeah, and it's always so funny to me when you see like someone who becomes like one of the regulars in Trek. Usually people in Trek, when they are regulars, have something of a pedigree. And I think Colin Meaney at this point had some good acting. I'm extrapolating here. Maybe I'm just pulling this out of my butt. But it seems to me like he had a legit career in the UK, and he's coming on doing like walk-on roles on this show that eventually led to a big part. But you think that he would already have a little bit more cachet to get at least a named part here. Mm-hmm. Like, he's not even in the opening credits as a guest star on this one.
But how smart was Colum to take these parts and just get your foot in the door? Because that's what he did. and
Yeah.
he became, I'd say, one of the pillars of Star Trek universe. O'Brien. I mean, that's a
The
huge
most important
character.
man in Starfleet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I agreed with them when they said that. But he's one of my favorite characters. Not I don't, it's hard to say a favorite, but he's one of them. Definitely. I really love O'Brien. So, and who would ever thought when he's just like working the console or walking down the hallway that eventually he would become such a major part of Star Trek. It's a great success story, I think.
Yeah. So there we go.
If you want in the organization, take whatever role they'll give you, put the ring together.
Just be the guy in the room.
Be the guy in the room. Exactly.
That's the key to success right there. In
no
any
one was
endeavor.
in the room when it happened, but be there.
Be there. Or be
there.
square.
Was that NBC? Be there. Wasn't that their thing? So I think this Picard traveling through the computer as an energy bolt, displaying a P. I think this is kind of like a Band-Aid to gloss over the fact that Picard's out there dead and we just brought him back from his last pattern. So it's not really Picard, and maybe like if they were thinking in terms of like a collection of electrical impulses being some type of soul, or for lack of a better word, unique consciousness, we're going to put that electric bolt in here so he's him. But I think he would have been him even if they beamed back his pattern without the energy. Thoughts, Chris?
I'm not really sure where to go with that. I mean, it's always the transporter has always been a pawn of the writer's room. Mm-hmm. And whatever they need it to do, it's going to do. It's always the magic cure-all. And I mean, from Enemy Within on, at least Enemy Within, the transporter created the problem, so it had to solve the problem.
That makes sense.
But I was just thinking, like, if this is the way they're going to treat the transporters, when Stan, I think it's Stan. No, that was T'Pring's boyfriend.
T'Pring's boyfriend in Amok Time.
Yeah, Skull. Anyway,
in motion picture.
Motion picture. When
Zahn,
when
I want to say
Zahn,
was it Zahn?
Zahn was maybe
Zahn was
Zahn was in phase 2. Yes, but I don't know if they kept the character name for TMP because a lot of the DNA is shared there.
Well, people are shouting it out now, and we'll hear them eventually. And
exactly, yeah, it's coming. It'll be echoing over the horizon at some point.
Cybok, no. Savik, no.
Regardless, you think that since they said what did materialize didn't live long, thankfully.
Right.
Why don't they just beam that mass of flesh and brain back into its last known pattern
and try again? Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, so that's what I'm saying.
They didn't have the Heisenberg compensators yet.
Oh, or did they? Then I would hope so. I mean, those are integral to any transporter build. Yeah, are you kidding? What is this? Is this the Fast and the Furious here? Or what are we talking about?
You end up with leaves beamed into you or something, like your cargo.
Now that's a real Tokyo drift. Am I right?
Yeah, I want to say, I don't know. So they were trying to gloss over. Maybe they were trying to say, okay, if they didn't do that, it wouldn't have been. Everybody would have thought that's not Picard, but it would be the same Picard as any other beamed Picard, right?
I guess you have this thing with the transporter that it kills you every time.
I believe it does.
I'm not a philosopher, to quote Miles O'Brien.
But when you watch what's it where Barclay has transporter psychosis,
and there's a little monster in there.
Yeah, a little hand puppet thing floating around.
Yeah.
He's conscious of the transport the whole time. Like he stays conscious. So that leads me to think, in that case, then you're not dead.
Yeah, I mean, there's a scene in Star Trek 2 where Kirk and Saavik are having a conversation as they're beaming, as they're materializing. They're still talking. So
maybe I just don't understand the technology yet.
Yeah, there you go. It's indistinguishable from zombification.
Maybe they just
it's indistinguishable from necromancy. Ooh. That's what transporter technology is.
I like it.
There we go.
I like it.
We need that T-shirt. Get on it, Scott Madison.
Get on it, Scott Madison. So I even though this episode seems like it's not the best, it seems to have a lot in it.
That's why I really liked it.
Yeah. I
So
enjoyed it. So is it to the part
so
where
much
we
here?
give our final thoughts and ratings, or is there other stuff to
Well,
go?
first, hello,
Hello.
hello.
I'm
Who's
always
your
getting this
episode
wrong. It's
crush?
almost on purpose. It's almost on purpose.
It's almost on purpose. Yeah, that's baloney. Who's your episode crush?
My episode crush. I have two in this episode.
Okay.
Normally, I only go for one and I make a hard decision, but I can't decide. One is red dress, casual, at home, book reading Beverly.
Mm-hmm.
I can't get her out of my mind. The other one is intimate, inquisitive, asking Jean-Luc if he's in there, Beverly. So those are my two crushes for this episode.
I think we have the same crush. I love Beverly After Dark. I love her Cash Bev at home reading a book. And what's your favorite part of the episode?
It's so difficult because there's so much here. Oh, man. Wow. If I had to pick, there's a lot of similarities between crushes and favorite parts. But my favorite part would be my crush, I guess, the Beverly talking to Picard and the furthering of that relationship. It's just a breadcrumb that they give us, but just knowing where that breadcrumb ends up into, I guess, a gingerbread house. How does that work? Where are you going when you drop in breadcrumbs?
The
No,
Nexus.
I'm not sure.
They like the Nexus. They go to the Nexus.
They go to the Nexus. They get married, and Q helps.
Echoes of them live happily ever after.
They live happily ever after. Love. I love, and I love their love. So that little breadcrumb is my favorite part. When I think back of this episode, I don't think of weirdness and laughing at sentient cannibalism, but I think about that moment about when she calls him Jean-Luc.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah.
I, on the other hand, think any part with the Antikins is my favorite part. I just love
the Antikins.
Yeah, I just love having. First of all, they only showed the Sealy like once, I think, maybe twice, and the Antikins they made a meal of the Antikins here. No pun intended.
More ways than one.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed the fact that they tried to be more aliens instead of bumpy headed humans. So even though it doesn't work that well, at least they're going for it. So
I found it interesting that they were from different planets, right? Because in my head, I had always thought they co-evolved on the same planet, kind of like Zindi did. More than one sentient species. There's no reason you can't have that. And I think I always thought that because their costumes were very similar. So I don't know if they did evolve the same culture of and then separate into different planets or what happened. I'd like to know.
No. They said that there are two major planets in the system, and once they got interplanetary travel, they became great enemies.
Oh, okay.
So I think they're independent, but maybe they're very close in the life zone, so that their evolution can coincide. There's not one that's more advanced and one that's less advanced. They seem
very similar
with one another. Yeah.
And they eat each other. So how did that evolve when they're on different planets?
Well, no. The Antikins eat live flesh. So I guess as soon as they found some kind of Sealy prisoner, they're like, "Ooh, that's good eating." I don't think that they eat. Yeah, I don't think they eat each other. And
so what? The dogs don't eat the lizards, probably.
No, the dogs eat the lizards. I don't think the lizards eat the dogs.
Okay, what do the lizards eat?
Would they unhinge their jaw and swallow the dogs whole?
I think so. What I found strange was that their robe seems very similar. And now that I sew a lot more than I used to, I noticed their outfits more. Like I'm looking at different seams and different ways they're doing different things. And if you look at the Soleil and the Antikins, they're just basically draped in sheets with a little bit of a knot tied. And they all have that. So it seems like they were in a hurry or being lazy with their outfits.
Or that's what they had back in props. They had the togas from the old Gladiator movies, like they did in the original series, and that's why they always went to Roman planet.
Yeah, it's what was available. So maybe that's it. But Star Trek always had a tradition of doing the most with the least amount of stuff. So it shows. But yeah, I find that whole thing interesting.
Yeah, me too. That's why it's my favorite part of the episode.
Yeah.
So hey, it's time for trivia.
So am I reading trivia or are you reading trivia?
Well, here's the question. Once again, I have that I ask you, and I feel like on the last Next Gen episode, I asked you, and then on the last disc, let's put it until disco is over. If we're on a next gen episode, I'll ask you. If we're on a disco episode, you ask me. Are you
Okay,
ready?
so you get to ask me. Okay.
I get to ask you.
All
Oh,
right.
you've never seen this movie, so you're not going to know.
Okay.
In
This
the
question
movie,
3, right?
In the
One
movie,
of
The
three?
Wrath of Khan. This
Okay.
is question one of three. One of three.
God,
In the movie, The Wrath of Khan, where do the Enterprise and Reliant engage in their final battle?
the Mutara Nebula.
I don't even have to turn the card over. You're right. What? Oh, it's my favorite guy. What does Captain Edward Jellicoe order Counselor Troy to do after he assumes command of the USS Enterprise D in the Next Generation episode Chain of Command Part 1?
Change that uniform. Get into Starfleet uniform.
Yes, exactly. Put on some clothes, damn it.
Damn it, Ronnie Cox. She was
God,
wearing
I
a
love
nice
him.
dress. What'd you do to me? Where'd the cleavage go? Ronnie Cox took my cleavage.
Ooh, okay. This one might be a little bit different. The original series episode Assignment Earth was originally intended by Gene Roddenberry as an opportunity for what?
A backdoor pilot.
Yes, for a
new series.
Gary 7 series. Yep.
Yes. Not bad.
Very
3 for
good.
3. And did you get 3 for 3 on the disco episode?
I believe I did.
Go-
I believe
go-
I did. People
to Patreon
people can
to find
see
out.
me. Yeah. Oh, maybe I didn't. Whoops.
Yeah, we don't know.
I mean, I believe I did, but that was
What
was
happened?
hours ago. I don't
Hours
remember
ago.
what.
Yeah.
I honestly don't remember.
It could be either way. You might have kept your record intact, or you might have missed one.
I still don't remember not remembering.
I don't remember having one. That was the first Worf one-liner. So that was something cool.
So you can find all of our good stuff at patreon.com/Treksplorers, including our bonus content. Right now we're doing disco. You can also find us on Instagram, Treksploration Pod. You can find us on X at Treksploration. You can phone us at, I thought I copied and pasted it in there. It's up top. That's right. 707-847-6682. 707-847-6682. And you can drop us a line at P.O. Box 542, Bayport, New York, 11705.
This is not a one-way conversation from Chris and I to you. You can talk back to us and we can hear you. You can talk back to the screen, talk back to your player, and we can hear you. Call the number, leave a voicemail. You might get on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we want you to join the conversation.
We want to know what you think. What did we mess up on? Is there any Kertrections? Is that the word we're going with? Kertrections? Let us know what we got wrong. Yeah, contractions.
You make a Kertrection, we'll make a retrection.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we want you to become part of our crew of Treksplorers. So please join us. Won't you? Join us, won't you? I feel like Johnny Dollar when I say that. Bob Bailey, starring Bob Bailey.
Okay.
Speaking of join us, won't you? Join us, won't you? For the next in our TNG recaps. What are we doing next, Albie?
Oh, do we got a Trek and Tell before we do that, or do we? No,
oh, shit! See now.
I think we're doing a Trek and Tell.
Yeah. Okay.
Just so everybody knows, for context, this is hour 5 of recording because we're trying to catch up after our trips that we had.
Yeah, it's hour 5 of recording. I've been up for about 20 hours now, and I did a Trek and Tell for the disco episode where maybe I answered the questions, maybe I didn't.
Maybe you didn't.
So again, you have to see my Trek and Tell on patreon.com/Treksplorers. But Albie's got a Trek and Tell for this very special episode of Next Gen.
So I'm curious. I have a question. I don't know what to do about this. Like while I'm walking through the space station to get into the studio recording room of the space station that I'm on, orbiting in deep space, station 823. Long story. You'll see later. But I walk by like hundreds of Star Trek things. That's just my house. It's just piles of Star Trek things on shelves, sometimes not on shelves.
That's kind of how I picture it. You sound right on brand. Literally, there.
You can open a box and untape it, and there's like a whole series of something on some obscure format that nobody ever heard. Right. So do I save certain Trek and Tells for those episodes when we cover it? Like, do I not grab a Voyager thing until we talk about Voyager? Do I not grab a disco thing until we talk about disco? Or do I just randomly pick something Star Trek?
Yeah.
Do you have a preference? I have two
Listen.
ready. I have one next gen, and I have one disco.
So no, stick with
Not disco. Disco? No, Strange New Worlds.
Stay on the brand. Stay on the brand.
Stay on the brand. Oh, you almost saw this. I'm so excited for you to see this. When are we going to do Strange New Worlds? I'll give it a little tease. See if I can get it in frame, but just barely. It's coming. It's going. Okay, that's your little tease. Oh, people had to probably pause to find out what.
I'm gonna have to watch that on 4K.
I can't wait to talk about this. So I'm cleaning out the garage, right? Because we have a shuttle bay and it's just stacked full of Star Trek memorabilia, right? And I'm going through stuff, throwing stuff away, and I find this, and I thought this was really interesting. It was just a page saved from a magazine. There's too much reflection on there, I think.
I can read something. You got to read it aloud for the benefit of those listening on the podcast feed.
It is an ad for Star Trek The Next Generation on DVD. It says, this year has 7 seasons. For the first time, the most successful Star Trek series ever is coming to DVD. Collect the first breathtaking season now. See, I don't have my glasses on. Red Knox. The complete first season contains over 1 hour of newly created bonus materials. Collect them all. Season 1 beaming down on DVD March 26th, 2002. So it's like a magazine ad that I happen to store away somewhere.
That's neat.
For Next Generation on DVD. So now we know when it started coming out on DVD. And I do remember this. They tried to put it out in a year, the whole series. And these were $120, $140 a season. And I paid it when they came out.
What DVD extras were on Lonely Among Us?
I don't remember. I should have watched it on DVD, but I didn't. Maybe I should do that. But the DVD special features were okay. I remember them being okay. They were kind of like a little bit of interviews, a little bit of talking with the producers, a little bit of the backstory, but not much. And they were very limited to a few minutes. Whereas if you go now to the Blu-rays, it's like hours and hours and hours of the best documentary of the history of Next Gen. So,
wow, sounds cool.
It was just a little ad, and I grabbed it on the way to the recording studio in the station. It was just sitting there. Yeah. So okay, I got to show the other one. Should I show the other one?
Okay. Yeah, if you want. Listen, we're here now.
Okay. No, I'll save it for next time. What I'm interested to find out is you got all those Star Trek books behind you, Chris. Can you give us another recommendation? Because like these shows are a week apart, so I need something to fill my week with. Is there something Star Trek you can recommend?
You could fill your week with editing me and
I do.
My sparkling wit and personality. What do you need a book
and I take
for?
screen caps and I have a gallery and I print them out at the local drugstore and then I put them in a photo album. Just different outfits of Chris and different smiles of Chris.
I have something, even though it's apropos. But since we had Worf's first real character moment here, this is this has gone on to become a major thing, but this was an anomaly when it first came out, and it's a first. This is a first edition Klingon dictionary.
I have never seen that edition.
First one that was ever released, as far as I can tell. I remember seeing it in the bookstore and saying, "Ooh, I'm going to buy that." And let me just make sure it's a first edition by Mark Okrand.
And he came up with the Klingon language.
The Klingon language, yep. 10-9-8-7-6-5-4-3-2-1. This is a first edition.
For us non-authors, how do you tell?
You see how it goes from 10 down to 1?
There's a countdown.
Yep. And it says first pocketbook. I can't see it. I'm reading it.
Printing December.
Yeah. December 1985, 10-9-8-7-6-5-4-3-2-1. So
what does that mean?
It wouldn't count down to 1. If it was the second printing, it would only count down until 2. If it was the third printing, it would count down until 3.
That's a weird code that I never knew about. Now I'm going to be looking through my books. Yeah, I'm used to the one with the cover where I think it has Worf or maybe it has Garon or somebody on the cover.
No, I think that they released this sort of just as an anomaly. Mark Okrand did it because he developed the language for Star Trek 3.
The Vulcan language, right?
Yeah, and
was it 2?
No, it was the Klingon language. He developed the Klingon language for Star Trek 3 for Commander Krug.
Mhm.
And what happened, it got to the point where they were doing stuff like on set, and Christopher Lloyd was so dedicated to learning the Klingon. There were times when he would stop his lines and he would say, I got the Klingon wrong.
Mhm.
And Nimoy would just be like, wait, move on, it's made up. But what Mark Orkran did was he took that as an opportunity, because when he was developing the Klingon language, he tried to make it as antithetical to common sense for Earth syntax as he could. So whenever one of the actors on screen made a mistake, of course, that would become canon, something that people could actually focus on as official Klingon. He would just incorporate it into the language and say, you know what, it's actually better because you would expect him to do this, but no, he's doing this. So there was a whole thought process behind this whole made up language. It's almost like Tolkien writing a history of the elves and creating an Elvish language to write the Lord of the Rings. Like you wouldn't have the Lord of the Rings without the Silmarillion. So, I mean, you wouldn't have all of the Klingon stuff that's come since without this little addition. And so think of this as like Worf's first character moment, first one-liner. This is the Klingon language's official debut. It's bow into the Star Trek pantheon.
You know how I just say things, Chris?
Yes.
And then we do them. So I think we just came up with a new segment for each show. We learn one Klingon word. Because we can, that by the end of this series, we can learn 179 at least, right? And by the end of our series, we can learn up to 1,000 words.
We're never going to end this show, are we? Okay.
Never. Okay.
All right. No, I mean this particular episode.
What Chris doesn't know is I'm trying to make this a 3-hour show. Okay, so I think it's 5 and 1.
I gotta drive to Jersey in 2 hours.
Okay. One Klingon word. Okay, here's the game. You say it in Klingon, and I try to guess what it is in English. How's that?
Okay.
And that way we'll learn a Klingon word an episode.
All right. Well, these are phrases.
Okay.
That's fine. Let me just get a word. No, I'm just going to pick a random word.
Okay. We can learn phrases too, like where's a library? How do I get to the toilet?
I don't know how to read it because it's all like weird capitalization and crap.
I know. The audiobook, I have the audiobook because that made more sense to my brain.
All right. So I'm going to go into the verbs. All right. Okay. So I'll just let you know that this is going to be a verb. All right. And let's say, oh my God, imperative prefixes, verb suffixes. This is everything I hated about being an English major when I was an English major.
Me too.
Okay. Yochgong.
Listen to me.
Yeah.
No, what is it?
It's something Picard says in Best of Both Worlds.
Futile, engage, number one.
No, it's Sad Picard.
Oh, Sad Picard. Beverly, why are you dating this other dude? He's got a simian in his gut.
Oh, he says, sleep.
Sleep. Okay, so how do we say it?
I lost the page. Everybody rewind. Just hit the 30-second back button.
Yeah, go back for the second coat and watch it again. So that means sleep. So now we learned a word. Okay, so we have a new segment. Putting it in the show sheet right now. All right. So now we'll go to final thoughts and ratings and get out of here. We got to drive to Jersey in the morning. I got to meet you in New Hampshire. Who's meeting us in New Hampshire?
We're beating these dead horses.
Meeting us in New Hampshire?
What'd you say? Did you say something about horrors? What?
No, or any of these Treksplorers meeting us in New Hampshire. I don't know yet. We'll see.
I don't know. They'd be meeting us in New Hampshire to see Scott Bakula.
Yeah, we're seeing Captain Archer.
Yeah, so as we get closer,
expense, right?
As we get closer, we'll promote that.
All right. I hope it's a business expense. It's got to be.
Listen. I mean, it better be for how many times you've seen that freaking show. It sure is work. It sure is work. How many times you've seen it? Anyway. I think we gave final thoughts already. No, we didn't, because we got to give our 5 silly objects out of 5.
Final thoughts and rating, and then we talk about next week, and then we go.
Maybe not the best, but by far the most interesting episode of Next Gen to date. I love the ambition with the alien makeup. I love the fact that there was a lot going on A lot of good character moments made up pretty much for some of the draggy stuff. And it's Dorothy Fontana, so you got to give Dorothy props. So I'm going to give it I'll give it 4 Sealy carcasses out of 5.
4? Is that what you said?
Yeah, 4 dead Sealy corpses out of 5. I hope those corpses, they can be gnawed to your liking.
Right. They have to eat them live, but be prepared by the chef.
Yes. So the chef is what, like chasing them around the kitchen and putting a hat on them? I mean,
it's Riker in a holodeck, just to spoil that for you. That's why he's like, sure, whatever, we'll do it. And he becomes a chef because of it. But that's the long arc. I'm gonna say this is one of my least memorable episodes of Next Gen. Like, I don't think about this when I think of Next Gen, but I think of a couple moments here and there, and it's important. It has good things, and it's always fun to watch. I'm going to give it a 3.5 damn pipes.
I don't know what that one is.
Data has a Sherlock Holmes pipe.
Oh.
So he has to get rid of it. So I'm going to give him three Sherlock Holmes pipes.
There you go. The Meerschaum pipe, I think they call that.
I might have gave it more of a higher score if I didn't know what was coming, but I want to save a little bit. But yeah, great episode. Overall, like it, recommend it, watch it, enjoy it. And some of our Treksplorers let us know what it's like to watch it baked. And I think next time we are talking about season 1, episode 8, Justice. What is Justice about? What is Justice?
You know what it's about, Albie? It's about just us, you and me.
Aw, you and me. Aw. We have a bromance. I think we do. A budding bromance, anyway. We'll see how the story goes. Okay, Justice. Do you want me to read it, or are you reading it? Or are you just going to...
You read it.
Okay, the next episode, Justice. Picard tries to save Wesley, who has been sentenced to death for inadvertently violating a foreign planet's rules.
Dun, dun, dun. That Wesley, the boy. Oh,
the boy is running around with these half-naked people? The boy? And so that's a good episode. I look forward to watching that.
I can't wait to talk about that episode.
But it's 45 o'clock in the morning. So for Treksploration, I'm Albie.
Yeah, I'm Chris.
And we'll talk to you next time.